Hi, it's Hope and welcome to the video. First I want to say if it looks like I'm sweating, I probably am because it is quite hot in my room. But I really wanted to get this filmed. So this is just going to be my June TBR. So I'm not doing my roles this month. I feel like I just need to mood read. Mainly because I just started a new job. I'm not sure what the month is going to look like for reading and all of that. So I didn't want to have pressure, but I do have a bunch of books that are kind of on my TBR, as in like I will probably mood read between all of these. But if I don't read any of them, no punishment, if that makes any sense. I also am really trying to read a bunch of queer books, whether that be by a queer author or there's just characters within the book that are queer. So you will kind of see that of like I'm looking at my list and a lot of them are like queer books with queer characters, whether that be main character, side character, whatever, just because I feel like that's just what I wanted to do. Obviously throughout the month, if I read a cis het romance, I read it. I'm not gonna care, but like I think everything on my list, I'm looking over here because I have my list on my laptop with the text made big so I can see it. I am also loosely participating in one readathon, which is Camp Seasonathon, which is hosted by Clint from Reads Reader, Kaylani from Kaylani Simply Me, and Melanie from Completely Melanie. And I will leave the announcement videos down below, but I am going to be a part of the cabin, Chewy cabin, Clint's team, which this year's theme is like the cabin leaders are the hosts' dogs, and so obviously I'm picking Chewy because that is Clint's dog and Clint is one of my closest friends, so of course I picked his cabin. I'm kind of also mood reading throughout those prompts. I think quite a few of these books that I'm mentioning do fit a bunch of those prompts. So I'll kind of shove books in as I can because I'm loosely taking part in that. And the group book for that is Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood, which I will be reading. I have my copy pre-ordered, so whenever it arrives, I'll be reading it. But this is basically Ali Hazelwood's newest release, which, when in doubt, Ali Hazelwood always writes about women in STEM, and so I believe she's like a professor, but she's not getting paid or isn't getting paid a lot or something like that. There's like a specific title that she is, and so she ends up doing this kind of side hustle of being people's like fake girlfriends for reasons, and so she ends up signing up for this job to be this guy's fake girlfriend, and then the guy's brother is actually somebody that she works with or something like that, or like something like that, I'm not exactly sure. And it ends up being a relationship between her and the guy that she works with, and it's women in STEM, and that's pretty much all I know. I don't really know much about it, besides I do love the cover and I have this book pre-ordered, so it will be arriving sometime in June. And I'm probably not going to talk about these books too much, but the first book is Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. I recently bought this like in April, I think, and I've been wanting to read it ever since I bought it. I've been wanting to read it since way before that, but buying it means I can read it a lot more easily, and I am putting this on my June TBR. This basically, we follow Delilah, who is a photographer, and she basically ends up going back to, I think it's Bright Falls to be the photographer for her stepsister Astrid's wedding, and there she ends up re-meeting Claire, who is one of Astrid's friends, and Claire is a single mom, and she runs a bookstore, and the two of them kind of hit it off, and we go from there. So it's like, it's sapphic, it's single parent romance as well, so sign me up. The next book is Gravity by Tal Bauer, which I know nothing about this except it's an hockey romance set in Canada. That's pretty much all Clint has said, so that's all I'm going to care about because I hear the word hockey and I'm sold. The next book is Cherish by Tracy Wolff, which this comes out May 30th, and so I'll be getting my copy in June, but this is the 6th and final book in the Crave series. Oh my gosh, that is insane. Which is a YA paranormal series, and I'm a co-host for the Crave Along, where we read one book in the Crave series each month, and Cherish is June's book. So I obviously have to read it, and this is like the conclusion to everything. I'm so scared because I don't want anything bad to happen, because when in doubt, bad things happen in these books, like as in like character deaths or things, and I'm not ready for that, but also I'm ready to see these conclusion to these characters, and so I equally am excited, equally am scared, but I have my copy pre-ordered. The next two books are book 2 and 3 in the series, and that is Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare and Chain of Thorns, and so these are the second and third book in the Last Hour series, which is, I actually have the first book, Chain of Gold, right next to me. The first book is Chain of Gold, where basically this is one of the many Shadowhunter books where we are following a young group of Shadowhunters as two new Shadowhunter families have moved into London, and with them there are these demon attacks that are happening more frequently than they did before, and this young group of Shadowhunters have to figure it out. And so I'm continuing with the series and hopefully finishing it off this month, because I've been putting off kind of doing it because of being scared, because I also haven't heard the best things about Chain of Thorns, and so that scares me, but I really want to read it, and I feel like this will be like a nice thing to read, because I'm kind of in a fantasy mood, but also I want like a comfort fantasy, which is when in doubt Shadowhunter books. The next thing I want to read is an entire series. It's a trilogy. Is the Freedom's Harem series by Elizabeth Brown and Tori Heat. The first book is Blood Crown, and this basically is a adult paranormal series where basically we are following Ashira, who is a succubus, and she has recently kind of taken over the throne of this country, and she is now meeting with all of like the delegates from the various countries and like the leaders and all that, and she ends up finding out that quite a few of these guys are her mates, because obviously she's a succubus, so multiple mates, and it is very smutty. It is very like interesting, and I need to read the third book, so I'll reread the first two. I honestly might read this the weekend of Pegasaurus for Pride, because I think pretty much almost covers every single prompt. Next is The Grave Between Us by Tal Bauer, and this is the sequel to The Murder Between Us, where we basically follow Cole and Noah, and they basically work with the FBI, and they are trying to solve this like serial killer that has recently picked, like the serial killer case that has now just started picking up again. It was cold for a few years and now it's back, and in the meantime they are falling for each other, and that's pretty much it. The next book is Radiant Sin by Katie Robert, and this I know nothing except it is like the fourth book in the Dark Olympus series, which is basically kind of like Greek mythology retellings almost of sorts, but in a modern setting, and instead of the Greek gods being people, they're more of like titles, so there can be like throughout the generations multiple people with the title of Zeus instead of it being one person, but it's one person because of the title, if that makes any sense. And this is, I believe, Apollo and Cassandra, I believe. I could be wrong, but that's what I remember. And I need to continue this series, so maybe I'll get it read. Next book is Raven's Redemption by Charlie Nottingham, which is the fourth book in an adult paranormal series, where basically we follow Rain, who is a witch, and she basically ends up working for this vampire named Ezra after he hires her to do a kind of cleansing of this estate, which is Ezra's husband's estate. And in the meantime, Ezra and Rain kind of start seeing each other, and then also, and my brain is forgetting words, but basically it is a kind of why choose poly paranormal, and this came out in May here, and so I haven't gotten to read it yet, but I really want to read it because I'm excited to see where the series goes. The next book is Psycho by Only James, which is the second book in the Necessary Evil series, which basically is a series of kind of interconnected standalones where in each book we are following one of these 7 brothers that were adopted by this scientist named Thomas, and the only reason he adopted them is because all of these boys were like medically considered psychopaths, and Thomas basically trains them to be killers, to kill the people that kind of slip through the law enforcement's cracks of like politicians, people with a lot of money that can pay off their crimes pretty much. And this is book 2, and we're following, I don't know which brother, and yeah. And then the final series that I want to read, because I really want to reread this, is the Foxhole Court by Nora Sakovic, which this basically is one of my favorite series, and I'm dying to do a reread, so I figured throw it on here. If I read it, I read it. If I don't, I don't. But in this book here, we basically follow Neil, who he ends up getting the opportunity to play college level XC, which is basically like hockey meets lacrosse type thing. And basically he is reluctant to agree because he's currently on the run from his father, who essentially is a very bad criminal, and so he's been on the run from his father for the last few years for his safety, and joining this XE team will put him in the spotlight because it is a fairly well-known team, but he does it anyways because why not? And we're basically following Neil throughout all of these books. I'm trying to remember the order. And so yeah, I'll be reading all 3 of these. So yeah, that is everything that I've written down for what I want to read. There is so many other things I'll probably end up reading in the month. I will probably mood read through a bunch of things that are on my Kindle or on my shelves or whatever. But I just wanted to make this little video to kind of share my like June TBR and kind of see just how much of it do I end up reading. Let me know in the comments what is one book that you will be reading in June, or if you have read any of these and your thoughts. If you like this, don't forget to like and subscribe because it really helps my channel grow, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Bye!